Hi, my name is Tori Treyes. I have English, and I do have the 5 children's books that I chose non-fictional. The first one I chose is one of our assignments, is The Children of the Dust Bowl, a true story of the school at Wheat Township. This is by Jerry Stanley. It is suggested for ages 8 and older. Personally, I believe it should be for 10 and older just because there is a lot of factual information that is consistently back to back. The purpose is fulfilled throughout the storyline. It expresses feelings and situations to help the reader understand the depression and issues that took place. Jerry describes how the struggles of not being able to have a farm that could grow crops and how millions of families were losing their land because they could no longer afford it or profit off their land. They found high hopes in California, but traveling there was a huge issue. As you can see, he did use real pictures to help illustrate and understand what was going on in this time period. The depression was great, and many children slept on the floor rather than beds because they could not afford it, and they were traveling. Most children chose to walk as opposed to take a car because they weren't as reliable. Throughout this, you can actually see their activities, and it helps you get a better feel for what took place. I think this book is overall a great book, but the information is consistently back to back, which makes it a little harder to grasp everything without getting sidetracked or feeling like you're not completely understanding what is going on. The next book I have is Martin Luther King Jr., Champion of Civil Rights. This is by Edith Hope Fine. It is suggested for ages 8 and older. They use real photos to help illustrate the book. There are short chapters in here describing his life. It expresses his inspiration of Gandhi, which helps spark his ideas for fighting against segregation. Here in this book describes many of his inspirations, his important speeches, and the riots that took place for fighting against segregation. The spaces are well-spaced, large text here, which makes it easy for someone to stay interested and get through the book completely. At the end of the book, there is a short timeline describing very important events. One helpful part of this book is that there are key words that you can define here in case there was anything that you did not understand, and following the pages of other books and websites to help keep the interest of the students that were interested by this book. Overall, I think this book is great for children and helps them expand their knowledge by giving them additional resources. The other book I chose here is 1000 Tracings, Healing Wounds of World War II, and this is by Lita Judge. This is for 5 and older. This book is something I would definitely read to a 1st or 2nd grader and suggest it for all ages of reading. Something of the aftermath of the World War II and the struggle of their recovery. I'd want to share this story because it's not common that you are aware of the hard times following a disastrous situation. Throughout the story, a little girl is helping families in Europe that can't afford shoes and are having a hard time eating. She gets her community together to help raise money and send products to them. At the end of this novel, there is an author's note where the author actually finds tracings in her grandmother's attic, which she based the story off of. So it is a true event that took place. The emotions in this are very relatable. They do it on a lower level for people of all ages to actually understand, which I think is great. I would have never thought of this book. I've never heard of it before, but it is a great book. The next book is called Only Passing Through, and this is by Anne Rockwell, illustrations by R. Gregory Christie. This is for ages 9 through 12. The illustrations in this are really great. They're very different than what you normally see. You can see here, each page has about a paragraph to 2 paragraphs describing what goes on. They use well verbiage for the ages that they are using for their audience, the 9 through 12. This does a great job of including laws and factual events. It also includes the President Lincoln and the fight against slavery. It includes faith as well, which I think is a very important thing to include in a book because not very many children's books do that openly. The very last page of this is an important timeline about slavery, and there's an author's note describing that. I think it's very helpful so that you can see and relate that back to the book and see where reality did take place. The next book that I have here is Honest Abe. This book is really for 4 and older. I think that's a good age range, 4 to 8. The colors they use in this are very colorful. They keep your attention. So there may be things that a 4-year-old might not be able to understand, the colors do keep them interested here. It goes through his life and time period of how he grew up and his campaign against Douglas for presidency and to go against slavery. It goes into a little bit of the war, keeping it appropriate for the age group. It does include his death and shooting, but as you can see, it's not very violent, very simple. And then the last page, they do include the Gettysburg Address, which is what helped shape and form history. And additional to that, they do include a timeline here of Abraham Lincoln's life and important things to remember. It's a very simple book, and the author does a great job of formatting the sentences so that it's not a run-on and it's not too long for a child to keep interested in. Very simple, about 2 sentences per page, which is really great. I think these books are probably better for younger age groups because it keeps them interested and involved, especially with the bright coloring and the photos that they use. I think that using actual photos, for example, Martin Luther King and Children of the Dust Bowl, is better for older students or older age groups just because they can physically see what took place as opposed to just seeing a painting or a similar picture. But overall, those are my reviews. I think these 5 children's textbooks are perfect for learning, especially through kindergarten to 5th grade. My top favorite book would definitely be this one here, 1000 Tracing. But those are my reviews, so thank you.